Excuse me. Thank you. That's what I meant to say. We'll go ahead and start recording. Okay. When we last met, Nick was talking about grouping of souls on Monday night. Uh, we Pastor called me, and we're going to kind of hold on to that for a little bit till the teachers can get together and talk about it a little bit. So let's just hold that right now. We'll pause on that one for a little bit. But let's see if we have any questions on anything else. Anybody have a question out there that someone text me one, but someone text me a question, but I don't see. Pastor, are you on? Okay.
Ron,
Yes,
this is Evelyn. Good morning, family. Why are you looking for that? May I make a comment and a question?
of course.
Okay. With the April 8th coming on Monday, and a lot of people are talking about that. But anyway, I remember on, I think it was, I forgot what day, Monday, Nick did the session. And anyway, we were talking about, I had asked the question if our children are our ancestors. And Pastor and him agreed, yes. So Friday, yesterday, I was in the park and I talked to this one guy. He and I talk about nature and things that's happening. And he was talking about April 8th, what's happening and stuff like that. And while he was talking to me, Spirit came to me and said, while we're going through April 8th, all this stuff that's being put out there, listen to the children. And I could hear it just as good as if you or anybody else is talking to me. It says, listen to
Uh-huh.
the children. The children is going to help us deal with what's coming. I would like comments on that and if that resonate with anyone, but I felt it in my soul to listen to the
Yeah.
children because they don't have the baggage we have. We all are
Uh,
getting downloads, but they're more aware than we are to me because, we deal with the issues of life and struggle, whatever we're dealing with. So I would like your comment on that or anyone, if that matters.
yeah, I guess let the class comment on it. But the first thing I thought about is the last election and all the young people that were out to vote, all the young people that are that their eyes are open. They're not just walking into life blind and following their father's gods and following their father's political views and they're seeing things now through their own eyes and seeing what truth looks like because of all the stuff that's happening. So that's the first thing I thought about. Uh, but anyone else, please? Anyone?
Would
Can
that
you
have
repeat that?
anything? Would that have anything to do with the scripture that says about the children, the older people, the young people seeing? I may have it kind of twisted. Dreams, visions, or something, and they're gonna see things before maybe some of us even see it, or they're gonna be wiser in what they're seeing.
Yeah,
Scripture.
I think I remember the scripture. We're living that time now. I think people are younger people are seeing things that we don't see, meaning they're searching for truth. We're as you said, kind of caught up in this world that we've been in for so long, and the baggage that comes along with it, the way we've worshipped, the way we've seen God, all of that is part of the shell that is over our eyes, or that causes us not to see clearly. So yeah, I do think that's all of that is relevant. Anyone else?
That scripture is Joel 2:28.
Joe, okay.
I will
Thank
pour out my spirit on all people. Your sons and daughters will prophesy. Your old men will dream dreams. young men will see visions.
Yeah, I think that's where we are.
And Ron, one more thing. I was looking at something on social media, and you know, with the earthquake hitting Jersey, and people in New York were feeling it as well. This lady has a daycare, and the kids were there, and she said, "Oh, the teacher was afraid." Well, she wasn't afraid, but she was just voicing her concern. And the little kids told her, "Don't worry, God gonna take care of us." She said, "What?" The little kids, like 3 or 4, "God's gonna take care of us. We're okay." And I'm like, okay, that's confirmation for me as well. Not confirmation, but it's truth. You know, we're taken care of. So
Yeah.
I wanted to just make that point also.
And there's a strength in that we can try to hold on to, because all of that also says to me that things are may get a little hectic in the next coming year or so. But there is a strength that we are. So there's a message there. There's something for us to hold on to. That earthquake also fascinated me because it was only, and I say only, of course, you know, it was destructive. It's an earthquake, but it's a 4.8 on the Richter scale. And some of them, you know, you look out west, 6 and 7 point, whatever, you know, stronger quakes. But this one, as one of the scientists was saying, uh, if you had that same earthquake out west in the Bay Area, the difference in the ground, the one, if you had one in the Bay Area, it would not have traveled as far as this one did. It would probably have been more centralized there. And they were looking at how far this thing reached to be a 4.8, you know, how many cities and the land mass that it covered. And I thought that was interesting as well, especially in a place that is not known for earthquakes. And and I can't remember if they said they haven't had one in 250 years or haven't had one of this magnitude in 250 years. But I just thought that was the whole thing was interesting. Anyone else on either one of those things? Okay. I had a question somebody sent me, and doggone it, I can't find it. Oh, here it is. But I don't see Pastor on. But the question was, why does Trump call the Mexican immigrants animals? And Pastor thought that was an interesting question and he wanted to address it. And he's not on right now, but oh, there he is, just getting on. Pastor, that you coming on? Are you talking?
Well, I might be able to help with that before he gets on.
Okay.
Good morning, everybody.
Okay, I'm on.
Okay.
Okay,
Hello?
hold on just one second, sir. Let Nick was ahead of you. Go ahead, Nick.
Okay, go ahead, Nick.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. I'm a little sick, so apologize for my voice. But the question related to why Trump calls Mexicans animals, but that is just a sort of example of dehumanization that comes from white supremacy. I think it's pretty simple in terms of their reasoning for using terms like that. Why he always referred to black women as like nasty. there's a lot of things like that that are indicative of the dehumanizing attitude that that mindset has towards anyone that they do not consider part of their group. Um, and it's just a way to sort of subtly encourage or uh, word that means say that it's okay to treat other people in that way if they do not resemble you or they are identified as the cause of the problem as opposed to you, the good, you know, upstanding citizens for whatever reason. But it is part of the dehumanization of that mindset. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Nick. Pastor, please, sir.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Hello? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I concur totally with Nick about that question. I mean, what he was talking about, rather, about like, the animal thing.
Yes.
That bothered me a lot. And the reason I think it bothered me more than it normally would have is because, as Nick said, it comes directly from white supremacy. But usually, if you think about it, when Trump called people animal, it's no different than what white men have always done, and some white women, but mostly white men. And when they say animals, they're usually referring to black men. Now they have made application of it to any male of color. So this idea of calling black folk an animal, you cannot possibly reference anyone as being an animal, as Nick said, without seeking to dehumanize them. But I think it speaks more about the person who's saying it than it does about the person who's directed to. And what I mean by that is this: you a white supremacist, you call somebody call black men animals, even though you think that you're not a racist, but you are. And Trump would tell you he's not a racist, but he is. But guess what? It takes more than being birthed from a womb to be a human. When you talk to people um, about, like, for example, the senator who said that they should drop the Nagasaki on Gaza, just drop a bomb on and get it over with. He's an animal because he's no different than the lion who tears a baby apart or eat a human and go home and go to bed. Lions don't think about tearing people apart. Animals, or your own pet dog will bite you and go lay down. It doesn't bother him when he does that. So if you are able to lynch someone and go home, it doesn't bother you. You're an animal. You're not a human. And when you call someone an animal and and you your attitude is like that of someone who's lynching someone, or your attitude, uh, your thoughts rather, for feeling like it's okay for you to do that is telling me and that you are an animal, meaning that you do not have the nature of a human. You have the nature of a beast in the field. And you know better than the beast in the field, no different than Nebuchadnezzar was when his mind was taken away from him. So so maybe that is the reason it stuck in my craw when I heard that repeatedly, is because of the nature of the beast, meaning the nature of the one who's saying it. So it's projection. You call me an animal, and that's because you know what you are based upon your attitude towards humanity, especially people of color. And that is totally 100% unacceptable. And I do not understand why young black males can can deal with Donald Trump and talking about voting for him and he's better than Biden or anybody else. Yet he calls them an animal and wanted the death penalty for those black males who did not rape that girl in the park. So, and never apologize for it, by the way. But then white men don't do that. They will call you an animal, and never apologize to you no differently than they will hang you from a tree or burn you alive and don't apologize. Am I talking about all white men? No, I'm not. But I am talking about the culture of white men who are white supremacists and the culture of white men who are racist and don't know they're racist. But their statements make them racist. Now, the other part of that is this: do not insult me, like Donald Trump or any racist male or female don't insult me by telling me what I said is not racist. How do you know? You never had to endure racism, so you can't identify what's racist. Uh, and then don't accuse me of playing the race card when that's the only card you got in your deck, the race card. I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Pastor, we had a couple other questions before you got on the line. I want to just mention them to you. We talked about the earthquake in New York, and we talked about the magnitude of the amount of ground that it covered versus if it had happened at LA. The first thing I thought about when that was done was consciousness. They were talking about how hard the ground is versus one part of the country than the other, whereas a 4.8 in the Bay Area would have been more grounded, more centralized in that one spot, whereas this one was spread out. And if there's any significance there that you see in that one. And then Evelyn asked a question about the children, and I'll let her ask that question again in a second if you want to address the earthquake, something that you may see there. You want to share with us.
Well, first, I wanted to see if there are questions about what Nick and I just said. No questions, no comments. Okay. As far as the earthquake is concerned, I definitely see it as a message. I see it as a message about what's being shaken. And what I mean by that is the whole financial system of this country is being shaken. New York is the financial center of this country. New Jersey is where the computers are stored, the servers are stored that handle Wall Street, all the financial exchanges on Wall Street. So I see that as a message about the crumbling of the financial stability of this country. And I think we should watch that, be aware of it. And this is what I'm saying that we're going to see. When I talk about the financial crumbling, I'm not talking about somebody who's making $15, $20 an hour losing their jobs as much as I'm talking about the super wealthy losing their money and beginning to see cracks in what they see as their God, meaning their corporations. I'm done. Questions or comments?
Yeah, question.
Good morning. It seems to be a precursor to a reckoning, if you will, and we already see that reckoning beginning. What with Mr. Trump's monies that he has to pony up if as he appeals. We've seen that in the guy with the ETF, crypto ETF. So it seems like it's a precursor to a quaking and a reckoning for all of those who money is the God rather than having the spiritual God.
Thank you, Barb. Everybody understand what they're saying? Any questions about that? Anything you want to add? Okay. Evelyn, if you will, you had your question really was kind of two-part. You want to talk about the children?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
I just want Pastor to hear it to see if he has any. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Good morning, Pastor Jay. I brought to the family. I was talking to the family about, I was talking to this guy at the park yesterday, and he was talking about April 8th and all the things that's happening. And while we were talking, the Spirit spoke to me and said, listen to the children. And I was telling them also how it resonated with me when the Spirit was talking to me. And I had asked, I think Monday night, are the children our ancestors? And you and Nick both confirmed yes. Also, I saw on one of the social media platforms that this lady was at the daycare with her children, the teacher, and they felt the earthquake in New York. And she was concerned, of course, about the children, but the children told her not to worry about anything because God got this. God is going to take care of us. That's what I brought to the family.
Okay, I can agree with that, but I want to add something to that. We are children too. There is a biological child and there is a spiritual child. Some of us may have reached adolescence, but we have not grown. We are not adults yet in terms of being spiritual. Listen to the children also means listen to the pain of the children as well. When you listen at the children, spiritual children, not only will you hear what Evelyn articulated, but you also will hear a cry. And that cry is in the form of what are we going to do now? Especially with people who are deeply engrossed in Christianity in the churches right now. What are we going to do? Look at what this man is seeking to do to us. They are actually terrified of Donald Trump winning an election. These are the children who are crying out because they don't know where to turn. And our response to the children is not directly to them individually, but as we put things in the macro, that's our response to them. And they are capable of receiving it, not because they are looking for it, but because they are open. And the reason they're open is because they want something better and they don't know what that something is. And when they open themselves up, that's what the reason we began to hear people talk about the things that we have said, the things that we put in the macro. We hear people talking about them because they're picking it up and they're picking up in their spirits. And the ancestors are also showing them, bringing it to their memory who they are. They don't know who they are, but they feel it. They feel something different. And so that's how that's my response to what Evelyn brought to the table.
Thank you. Questions, y'all? Questions, comments? Okay. I may bring up another question if there are no questions on anything else. Pastor and I were talking this week at some point. I don't remember what day, but we were talking about the impact of that bridge collapsing. And it seemed like within hours, I'm looking at news reports of all the cities and the states that this thing has had an impact on, uh, and job loss and how long this bridge is going to take to repair. They're trying to reroute some things, of course, but the difficulty of that because the spacing that there's not enough, So this is a real massive, if nothing else, is something for us to be prayerful about. Not necessarily for the goods and services, it's going to impact you anyway at the prices, but the job loss and the people that are affected, the families that are affected by this is something that's very real. Any insight on that? Anybody?
Again, that speaks to the economy. That speaks to the economy as opposed to being concerned about humanity suffering from it. They don't talk about people suffering from it. They talk about the economy suffering from it.
Yeah.
Think about it in these terms. 7 people got killed in Israel, were killed by Israel soldiers. 7. White man with money. His people were killed. He cried out. The whole damn world stood still because 7 white folks got killed. Every policy changing. If you don't do this, we're not going to give you this because 7 white folk got killed. 30,000 plus have died in Gaza with no response whatsoever. But 7 lives trumps that. All of this is about economy and racism. The economy and racism is the problem. And it has always been the problem since 1775 when the German wrote about the superiority of the white race. And from that, racism began to flourish like seeds being sown in on rich ground. So from that point forward, the only thing that this country has been concerned about is money and white men. That's it. That's it. Everybody else can die and go to hell as long as white men can make their money. That's the only thing that's important. I'm done.
Thank you. Just one thing I thought was important. Stood. Any other questions? Any other questions or comments about anything?
Yeah, this is Nick.
Hey,
We've
Nick.
said before that that sculpture of the bull near Wall Street is the similar to the golden calf that was created while the Israelite or the Hebrews wandered the desert, as a sort of symbol of the attempting to bring into the material things that are originally and meant to be spiritual concepts for spiritual development. But it is the worship of materiality, and the power over materiality, which is via money or the economy, that the people who worship materiality and want to remain on the top of the hierarchy of dominance that they have created, generally pretty much white supremacists, that is the sort of symbol for their desire to remain in that position and their continued upholding of that concept. And for some reason, I think that statue in particular is something's going to happen to it. I don't know what. But every time there's a protest, people hang stuff on the statue or do whatever. But I think something is going to happen to that statue. I don't know when, but these symbols that we create resonate with energy. And if the overall energy is incompatible with what that symbol is, then it can't continue to exist. And that's the same thing with the statues that are being torn down of, slave masters and stuff like that, or Confederate generals in the South. Those are more obvious. Or, as we have spoken about before, the Liberty Bell. It always formed a crack because that thing, it's a bell. It more obviously resonates in tune with a particular energy. And if the focus of that was to create something that represents liberty, it can't exist because that does not exist in this sort of consciousness atmosphere that we have created. So anyway, I want to bring that up as a more explicit symbol of the the attitudes and thoughts that are going to be shifted as we continue this transition, which we've said that earthquake was probably was definitely a symbol of that shift or transition. And I think the unexpected nature of it was also indicative of the way in which these changes can occur. They can occur quickly and without the sort of general people assuming anything is any different, if that makes sense. So thank you.
Nick, I have a question in regards to what you just said. You talked about the bull and the energy and the golden calf. My question is, when you look at the country of India and how they consider, I guess, it's the cow or the calf sacred, is it different because it's a different energy?
Yes, although it is still more towards the religious end of the spectrum, even in India, but their attitude is different towards that. It is, as I said, more religious, but it is not explicitly the worship of material domination and material stuff, whereas it is in the Western world, quote unquote. So I believe the Hebrew letter Aleph, the sort of original or one of the glyphs associated with Aleph is was the bull. It was like a proto version of what became the Hebrew letter, and that concept is similar for multiple languages like that. There's a symbol that means bull or something similar in multiple languages. So it is very much something that relates to spirit, but it is in its confused state. It is the inverse of spirit. If that makes sense. It is the material as held as God, as opposed to releasing or dealing with that confusion and allowing yourself to actually approach the nature of reality, as opposed to trying to force yourself onto it. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. The bull and Kemet. The bull represented the strength of the African. It represented the strength of Kemet, the inhabitants of Kemet. And that bull, in his representation of the strength of Kemet, has been for hundreds, if not thousands of years, adopted as a symbol of power and strength by Europeans, especially started in Greece and in Spain, and in Greece because of what it originally represented. And to this day, when they talk about a bull market, when you talk about the bull out front, all these things are interconnected, and the energy that they carry with them, as you said, is based upon the ones who are the ones who are who they represent. There's a different energy in a bull that's in Kemet than a bull that's in America in terms of the stock market or other things. So these symbols are extremely, extremely important, more so than we ever thought they could possibly be. And our attitude towards them is based upon religion telling us that these symbols are pagan and they mean nothing. Yet, when you move about Europe especially, you will see all types of symbols on cathedrals and inside of cathedrals and museums, etc., that had their genesis in Kemet and other nations where indigenous people are. Thank you.
This is Vermel. So then the bull on Wall Street is more of an idol. Our government uses it to idolize materialistic possessions. Is that true?
Nick, I think that's pretty much what you said, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
And the concept of an idol is exactly that. It is the replacement of the spiritual concept in reality with the material sort of confused representation that you come to worship. You come to worship things as opposed to seeking what is real or that which is in spirit.
Okay. So then India's sacredness of of their cows, that's not so much an idol as, or is it?
Well, in some ways it is. Like I did say, it is still leans heavily towards the religious
Okay.
sort of end of the spectrum here, which is closer to materiality, but in a way, it's still different because it still retains some of the more even in religious settings, it still retains more a seeking of spirit or seeking of something not material. Whereas in Wall Street, it's like money is God, baby. What are you gonna do?
Got it. Thanks.
Yeah.
When we talk about symbols, the misnomer is that the symbols that came out of the Kushite kingdom represent are being worshipped by the people who brought those symbols into existence. That's not true. There is no sense of any multiple gods being found within the symbols. These symbols represent attributes. For example, when the king Debiti, which is translated as Pharaoh, was anointed, this symbol of the hawk is what was in the robe of the garment of the Pharaoh, because the hawk represented anointing. They didn't worship the hawk. That's what it represented. They did not worship the crocodile, the lion, and the hippopotamus. It represented the punishment for those in the other world who had not been kind people in this world. So it wasn't that they worshiped those things; it was that what they represented. And when people saw those symbols, they knew what it meant. As they didn't bow to them; they were simply characteristics of the one Creator. Thank you.
I have a question. So the symbols represent, you did say characteristic, Pastor. Does it also represent the energy?
So, yeah.
Yeah. So it's the energy of the symbols, like with the Ankh.
See, the symbol represents the energy of who made it and what purpose, okay? Like the energy of the bull on Wall Street is money. The energy of the bull in Africa is strength, okay? Now, what did you say, Evan?
My question was, or is it the energy of the symbol is it the energy of the symbol?
Okay, I got you. The characteristics and symbol. Okay. The energy is the projection of the characteristics. If your character is one of hatred, then the energy that emits from you is the energy of hatred. Can you see that? If your characteristics are loving kindness, then that's the energy that you carry, loving kindness. Does that make sense?
Yeah, are we the symbol of? No,
No, we're not. We are it.
I don't
We
know
are
how
the
I want
thing.
to.
We are no symbols of anything. We're it.
I got you. That's why I stopped asking that question because yes,
Yeah.
I know we it. That's why I paused. Okay, but I have one more question.
Go ahead.
After you finish, Pastor Jay.
I'm finished.
This has been on my mind for the longest. If this is a reality if this is an illusion that we living in, and we probably talked about this before, but this has really been weighing on me. If this is an illusion, what we living in, why does it feel so real? Help me with that. Help me understand, please.
I can help with that. Illusion does not mean you don't have the experience. It just means that what you are experiencing is not the totality when it comes to what is present in reality. So it can feel very real. It is a part of reality, but it is not the full, complete, for lack of a better term, understanding of or experience of what this reality is. It is a portion of it in terms of experience. It is illusion in a real sense because it exists within a particular capacity to experience or to be aware of what is. So it doesn't mean it's not something we experience or that it is not a part of reality in total. It obviously is because we're here, but there is much more present that we cannot see, and we have to learn to see. And this place that we exist within now is not the origin, rather it is the product. And in that sense, well, there's more to it in terms of what it means that it is an illusion, but that is the foundational idea. There's more to this, but we exist within a boundary of our own awareness of it.
Aren't we in the process now of changing that illusion? As we become more aware of who we are from the internal perspective, and I use that word kind of loosely, not necessarily internal, but isn't that what we're doing now? We're recreating or renewing that world that we've come to know as being real. We're changing our reality.
Absolutely. And
yeah,
this exists, as I have heard some other metaphysical teachers say, and I very much agree with. This exists however we want it to. And this exists as an agreement that we make with each other as we are all collective participants in what this material experience is. And not just material, but any realm of reality we find ourselves within. The rules of what this are and what this is are determined by us collectively. And as we change the nature of ourselves individually and collectively, the nature of the world and the sort of foundational aspects of this material illusion also can change in terms of
That's sort of
where we exist within them and how we experience them. Thank you.
that sort of explains what is meant by Earth 2 when we're talking about the consciousness of Trumpism and the MAGA consciousness, that you can take what one group has seen as and agreed to as a set of quote unquote facts, and take that same scenario and create another whole woven thread of quote unquote facts to explain it differently from what the first group saw it as. If you understand my meaning. They create their own reality, even separate from the illusion that's already there.
yes. But one of the other things is, one of the reasons I think we have such a problem embracing or understanding it is because this material reality is the only one we've ever known. We are just in the beginning throes of understanding, or making efforts at least to understand what the spiritual experience really is. So I do believe that we're going to have interludes with this, for quite some time until we get to the place where we thoroughly are able to embrace what is spiritual reality as opposed to this material reality. Thank you.
Anyone else? I have a question. We talked about the bull. We talked about India, and this I hear a lot about India and the cows. In fact, someone who recently went to India was talking to me about an experience they had there. But I never hear anybody say anything about a bull. Are the bulls worshipped there too, or is it just a feminine cow? Is what is anybody have any insight into that?
It's all of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is the bull allowed to roam free as well?
Yeah, probably in certain places. Like you can't, definitely can't harm any cows or bulls. Can't harm any. That you know how we treat geese in the United States. Like you gotta let them walk in front of your car. You can't mess with them or anything. It's a little bit like that.
And monkeys are the same way in parts of it. And it's,
Yes. Oh, and let me know if you want me to get started on that symbol because that is something that's been resonating with me in particular this year and towards the middle and end of last year, that symbol. And then, of course, the movie that just came out, which I'm going to see, is called Monkey Man by an Indian actor and director. But that is also one that is, for some reason, becoming more relevant.
Questions or
I'm
comments?
wondering if it has something to do with the monkey mind, why that is coming out that way. But okay, Nick, you'll let us know, won't you, a little bit?
Sure.
Once you see the movie.
I can tell you what I saw in myself and what I'm now seeing reflected in the symbols that arise. But essentially, it is the need to apply discipline to the self in the direction that you know you're destined to move in, but be sort of unrelenting in your pursuit of what it is you desire to pursue. Ultimately, the story also relates to India because the Indian deity Hanuman is the sort of resonant symbol associated with the movie that I'm talking about, but also the overall vibe that I'm picking up, I believe. But it has to do, yeah, when you talk about the monkey mind, you have to tame the monkey mind. And for those who've never heard that term, the monkey mind is like a common term that you might hear if you are practicing any form of meditation from Eastern spirituality, like Buddhism. It's all of the that we learn to quiet so that we can perceive other things that we are connected to, so that we can make a more conscious decision about what direction we want to travel in internally, etc. So the monkey mind is in part about not rejecting the path that you are walking on. And it requires the strength and discipline that you generate internally in order to continue down it. And it requires that you face all of those things within yourself that need to be healed and balanced. And it requires that you accept your fate. If you are desiring to understand and know yourself spiritually and to grow, there's no what? You can't monkey around. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Nick. I tell you, the other day, I woke up the other morning, I think it was Wednesday morning, and I woke up feeling a little heavy, and I stopped and I listened to myself. And one of the things that came to me is I turned 65 next month, and that was heavily on my mind. And it's not usually stuff I worry about, but it's like, okay, you don't have this, you don't have that. You're not in a place to retire. You don't have this. And I sat there for a while just thinking, and I wondered, is this what I thought about last night? Did I go to bed thinking about this? Where is this coming from? And I laid there a while longer, but it wasn't time to get up yet. And this little voice just said to me, you're caught up in a world that's not yours. Live in your world. Live in your world. You're an African man. Live in your world. And I felt better until it dawned on me. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means, but it brought me a level of comfort. But it never went away in my mind. And I'm listening to this conversation today, and I want to know what is our spiritual reality. I want to know what we talk about when we look at these things and we talk about the illusion and worshiping these symbols, because all those things are part of who we are, what has become in our psyche and our minds, and you recognize that I'm not attached to any of those things. I'm not. I haven't been given privilege to be a member of the bull, but it is in the world that I live in. It is the king. It is the God, but I can't touch it. So that is part of my sadness, I guess, or part of the thing that hit me. And the thing, look at who you are. Live that. Live that. And I need to go and find that spiritual reality. And I think that's what we're doing now. But that just came back to me as we're studying this, as we're talking about this.
Hey, Ron,
Yes, sir.
maybe you're finding it has more to do with you not living, not being concerned about the things that led you to that place where you were
Yeah.
concerned about. For example, all the retirement stuff that you talked about that you were concerned about.
Yeah.
You say live in your world. Maybe you're and you are in your world.
Say that
Does
one
that
more
make
time.
sense?
You cut out on me. Say that last part one more time, please.
Maybe all these things, the things that you were talking about, right?
Uh-huh.
When they cease to be a concern of yours, then you are automatically living in your world as an African,
Yeah.
as the African man. Detaching from those concerns puts you in your world. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. It does indeed. Yeah. I'll
See,
leave it right.
sometimes I think that, okay, I think that we look for things too much.
Yeah.
Um, the way we have been taught to think causes us to look for things too much. Example, there are things that we can't find. I mean, we don't see. And we are hearing that leave whatever alone. Don't worry yourself with this. Now, when that is gone, so what do we replace it with? We don't have to have anything to replace it with. It simply means move out of your own way, and what you need will appear.
Yeah.
So I'm done.
Thank you. It came back to me throughout this discussion, and I thought, okay, it's maybe something to bring up. Okay, I have something that's been kind of I've been looking at the last day or so, and I just want to bring it up. It might be something we can discuss later. I've been looking at the Hebrew numbers, numerology, and I think there's a connection. I look at everything that is Hebrew. I don't necessarily want to separate things, but there's a lot of Jewish stuff or Judaism in the Bible, and there's some Hebrew stuff. The Hebrew stuff, I don't think could be tampered with. I don't think because people didn't understand it. They don't know the value of the strength of it. The numerology, I think, is one of those things. Uh, and one of the I was it made me look for something, those numbers, that if the Cushites studied numerology, which I know they did, but I don't see anything on it. And that's for anybody out there who's ahead of me and has some insight into that. But something I read really resonated with me. And it was talking about numerology proves to us that there is no separation. So if I look at my name, let's say, and I come to the number 2, it doesn't matter what I start with. It doesn't matter if I started with a root number or a certain number of this to find the root number of 2. It doesn't matter if Nick finds this number and he comes to the root number of 2. Those numbers come together to show us that we're together. You can't separate that. You can't separate those numbers. So no matter how you get to that root, it is the same thing. It is the same type of energy. We share that. So when we study these things, when we look at let's say we look up words and we look up these cities, or we look up these are things to me that even though some of the text may have been manipulated, the names of cities, the numbers where it says, I don't know, I can't think of anything now, but some of the numbers that are used, the 12 sons, the 12, all those things can't be tampered with. So it shows the connectiveness we have by looking at the numbers. And I hope I'm not rambling. I hope you see what I'm talking about. The importance of the numbers and the numerology, how that links us together, and there is no separation.
Right.
Yes.
Numbers have the energy they do because numbers came as a result of studying the universe. I was looking at I was reading something the other night, and 65.
I'm gonna take my picture down because they're all cutting out. I don't. Go ahead, Pastor. Now let me see if I can hear you better.
Hello?
Hello?
Can you guys hear me?
I can now.
Yes, it's much
Hello?
better.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
good. When I was looking at it, I saw how they got 365 days. Matter of fact, the the inhabitants of Kemet, the Africans, had it nailed down to however many, it was 360 days, point so many hours and so many minutes. It took this Earth to circle the sun. And that's how they arrived at the calendar. And also, that's how they measured time. So, what am I saying? I'm saying to you that numbers are are energy sources from the universe. The the extraction of understanding of numbers came from studying the universe itself and the bodies in the universe. So it is impossible to separate something from its origin. And with its origin being spiritual, then it has to carry spiritual meaning. Now, when it comes to the Hebraic or the quote unquote Jewish, because that doesn't exist in my mind anyway. When it comes to that, it's different. And what I'm saying is this: there should be no proper names in the scriptures at all, none. Even the word Hebrew does not describe a people. The word Hebrew means river crosser. It simply means those who cross the river, meaning they change from this material life, they walk from this material life into the spiritual life. That's what river crosser means. So this idea of Hebrew has nothing to do with a proper name. And even when you talk about the movement from the cramped space, why did you move from the cramped space? Because you wanted everything drawn out of you that kept you in that cramped space. And that concept became known as Moses. So I'm saying that these proper names never existed originally. They were added in order to manipulate and control the methods of understanding what people already understood. And when I say people already understood, I'm talking about those whose lives were based on the 42 principles of Ma'at. Does that make sense?
It does indeed, and it supports what I was trying to say. Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else?
Good morning, Ron.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, good morning. This is George in Philly. Appreciate what you were speaking in reference to numbers, and there were some other points that you made in reference to symbols and just being conscious about not looking at things in the natural when it comes to greed, politics, and religion, but looking at it from the Kushite and Kemetic teachings. When we think of an owl and what the owl represents in terms of the Kushites, numerically, it's the number 13 in the alphabet. And in the alphabet, it talks about, again, 13, which is 1 plus 3 is 4. Now, when we look at it, again, in terms of its meaning, what does the owl represent? And it talks about the characteristics of the owl and how did, our ancestors see it. But it talks about wisdom. And when we were referring to, or as you were referring earlier to yourself about being able to see where you are and your purpose, for living, it made me think about the old wise owl. Where you are now in terms of consciousness is moving to a higher level where now we're not caught up just in the cares of the world, but just being able to see it in terms of the true level of your desire. So I think that in all what you have said and what I'm feeling is that that's our desire to move to that level, but at the same time being able to appreciate how we see it and feel it and experience it through numerology, through the symbols, through our experiences, and even all what's happening, in our universe right at the moment. So I, just wanted to say that as we think about the characteristics of an owl and what it represents in terms of numerology, it's a blessing, just to know that your elevation is manifesting because of our connection, in terms of what our ancestor was able to read, through the cosmos or just through, their way of appreciating nature teaching. I just want to share those thoughts. If there's any questions.
Thank you, George.
I want to say this also. If you remind me this week, because I got a lot of things I'm dealing with. However, if you remind me, then I will talk about how how time came into existence in terms of the measurement of the rotation of the Earth around the sun, and how those numbers came into existence, and how the most accurate calendar would start the 1st of March rather than the 1st of January. If we're going to do it based upon the original, the original calendar that measured down to the seconds. And I would like to do that because I think that it will give us a better understanding of not only the numbers, but a better understanding of what time is and how time is so easily manipulated. And when I say easily manipulated, I mean time being bent to do what you wanted to do as opposed to what it was brought into existence to do. And this whole idea of astrology cannot be separated from the concept of time and how the manipulation of the Bible with the 12 sons also manipulated the numerology associated with astrology. So I think if we can see that, we will have a more in-depth insight into spirituality itself. The very things that have been deemed to be pagan are the foundational things of what spirituality looks like and how to live spirituality. An example of that would be, we talk about Christianity and Catholicism, but we don't talk about Islam and Muhammad. The original meaning, reason rather for Islam submission to God, had nothing to do with forming a religion. It was Muhammad who came from northern Asia, and he was an Arab from European and Asian extraction. And he saw, when Ptolemy was sitting on the throne in Egypt, he saw the problems that Ptolemy was creating based upon his European system of thoughts. And he began to speak and teach against that. And what he was teaching was the basic principles of the 42 laws of Ma'at, 42 principles of Ma'at. And what happened, the people of his extraction embraced what he was doing. And the next thing that you know, it was intended to be a lecture and understanding of the nature of humanity. And it ended up becoming a religion out of manipulation, simply because somebody wanted to lay claim to it and use it to control people. And that is seen to this day. So all of these things that we're talking about it today, excuse me, are interrelated, and they are the foundational principles of spirituality itself. Thank you. I'm done unless there are questions or comments. And by the way, I thought I was going to drop, but I didn't. So anyway, I'm done.
I have
Thank
a
you, sir.
question, Pastor Jay. Ron.
Yes, ma'am.
So what Pastor was talking about, what Muhammad did and everything, what he saw, I saw in that, it reminds me of the Transfiguration when Peter, James, and John, whoever was up there, was in there with Jesus or whatever in that moment. And I think it was Peter that says, let's build this altar, let's do this. It reminds me of how religion started. And Jesus said no, or something like that. I don't remember what happened. I can't say what I see, if that makes sense. It's like soon as we get something spiritual, a download, or we hear spirit talk, we want to start a religion. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
It absolutely does. That's how the charismatic religion came into existence. Based upon
that's what I see what you're saying.
Okay. Street. Yeah, the Azusa Street revival. That's where charismatic ministry came from. So religion produces religion, because religion had to start someplace. And it started by virtue of taking spiritual principles, adding a twist to them for the express purpose of controlling people. I'm done. I hope that answers your question, Al.
Yes, sir. I'm done too. Thank you.
We may be at a good place to take a pause here, but I'm going to ask Pastor. Pastor, would you want to start tomorrow talking about bringing time into existence, how it came into existence? Are you ready for that? Could you do that tomorrow, or is that not a good?
It is possible that I can. And the only reason I say it's possible rather than definitive yes is because we are dealing with some things with Steve at the hospital that was unforeseen.
Okay.
And if we can get them resolved today, of course. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, sir. And this is I saw something that I got excited about too, and I want to share it with you before we go. It just gets to get you to read it and take a look at it. But 2 Kings chapter 2, verses 1 through 14. Take a look at that, if you will, at some point. And at some place and point, we'll talk about it. 2 Kings chapter 2, verses 1 through 14. That's full of stuff. And maybe at some point we'll get to it. Okay. Any questions or comments before we get off today? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate when people send me questions. If you have anything you want to ask and you don't want to ask it on the line, please send it to me or one of the other teachers or pastor, and we'll be happy to discuss it. Okay. But thank you, everyone. Thank you for your input. Thank you for your thoughts and your energy. Hope you have a great day. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.